Whoa, okay. The House Inhabit bombshell investigation into Meghan Markle is close to dropping. Lauren, the insider, is with me now. Lauren, I've been speaking to Jessica Reid-Krause for many months about this. For people who don't know, she is a wonderful woman, in my opinion. Understand she's very controversial. She used to run a mummy blog. She has increasingly become highly political, very connected to the Donald Trump administration. But this is a woman who drops truth bombs and who always keeps the receipts. And for some time, she has been promising major revelations to come on Meghan Markle, on Meghan Markle's past. And what we've seen overnight, Lauren, in a series of Instagram stories which precede what the investigation will reveal is quite something. So I think we should go through it, Lauren, and then we'll discuss what this is potentially going to mean. So
this is what we needed, Dan. You know, the news agenda has aged me rapidly. Like, this is what we need to see. We need to see some investigations into Meghan.
Indeed we do, because there have been so many questions about her past for some time, so many suggestions. Was she operating as a yacht girl? How was she making her money? How was she traveling around the world? Maybe we're going to get some of those answers from House Inhabit. So let me take you through all of these Instagram stories, Lauren. So here she said, this folder has been in my draft since 2018. Now, they are the grabs of a couple of videos, which I have been very public about the fact that I have witnessed these videos before, and they do show the fake Duchess in a state of undress. Then she's pointing to this folder in her drafts, clearly Meghan Markle, yacht girl. She says this has been in her draft since 2018, which means that this is a 8-year investigation. In the next Instagram story she posted, one of us has been quietly tracking the cover-up for 8 years. So again, these words really matter, Lauren, because what she is suggesting is that for 8 years, there has been a cover-up involving the truth of Meghan Markle, which presumably would also, in some ways, bring in the royal family and the mainstream media and Meghan's PR operation. She then went on to say, collecting sources and filing away testimony from all the people she's treated horribly. And this is the thing when it comes to Meghan, there are so many people who want to speak out. House Inhabit Jessica Reid-Krause said Scorpios don't sleep. They plot, sometimes for years. There was then a smirking emoji. So she's going to have some fun with this. This was, of course, the footage of Meghan from this event in Hollywood on Saturday night. But this is probably the most specific hint about the bombshells that might be to come from this House Inhabit investigation. Jessica Reid-Krause writes, I have all the scrubbed info. Soho, Epstein connections. Now, that is clearly a reference to Soho House. Photos and mistreated staff as meaning anonymous sources detailing what it's like to work for her. And then here's the mic drop, Lauren. A picture of Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre, as a much younger woman, with the words, and maybe it will make sense now why VG, clearly a reference to Virginia Giuffre, originally wanted Meghan to testify at her trial, which, remember, we discussed last week, is something that Virginia Giuffre's lawyer, David Boies, had previously gone public to the Daily Beast about. So, wow, I have been in contact with Jessica Reid-Krause for some time. I have been waiting for her to drop this investigation so desperately. Of course, she has been very focused on some of her other work about, you know, Candace Owens and Trump and all of what is going on in America. But I think this could be a huge, huge moment for Jessica Reid-Krause. I mean, there she was with Donald Trump, by the way, just days ago. What do you make of this, Lauren? What are you hearing about it? I need you to do something for me right now. It is free. It is easy. It is simple. Just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's because over 50% of you watching this video haven't done that yet.
Well, I mean, I love an investigation. I'm often up till 3 a.m. going down rabbit holes myself. So I cannot wait to see this. If we look at this from, a legal point of view, she is not going to put something out there that she doesn't truly believe in. Evidently, this is an investigation that has spanned many, many years. She's very detailed and forensic. So I think Meghan Markle will be panicking because at the end of the day, Dan, things don't make sense with Meghan Markle. That's a fact. When Virginia Giuffre's lawyer gave that statement and referred to Meghan Markle, the press barely covered it. It's never been referenced post that time. And so you have to ask yourself, why would the press not mention that? Because that's factual. It's evidence. We can pull, those cuttings up and throw back to them. And they never do. Now, I think Virginia's lawyer was sending a very clear warning to Meghan Markle. That is my opinion. But if we also look at many things in Meghan's past, I think are patchy at best. And she is going to be worried about this because, again, the mainstream media have not reported on the fact Meghan Markle was friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend. That is a fact. Karina was dating Jeffrey from 2009 to 2019 when Jeffrey, well, who knows what happened, was unalived, popped to a bunker. We just don't know. But they had been on holiday together. There are numerous pictures of them on a yacht holiday. So the fact the press have never mentioned this and the mainstream media continue to offer some very questionable protection to the facts, this rings my alarm bells massively.
Yeah, and the thing is, what we want to know is why Virginia Giuffre was specifically calling on Meghan to give evidence.
Absolutely. And that statement from the lawyer was so smartly worded. It was vague, and it was vague by design. So that's why I think it was a warning to Meghan. If I sit here with my professional PR hat on, looking at that statement, they go through so many drafts, and it's, up to kind of 5-10 people around a table drafting that. Every single word in a legal statement holds weight. We all knew that Meghan hadn't spent a lot of personal time with Andrew once she was in the royal family. That's a fact. So the words that David Boyes used were very, very strange. Again, the mainstream media do not make the link that Meghan Markle's best friend works for Ron Burkle. Ron Burkle is, the big cheese at Soho House. Marcus Anderson is so much part of Soho House. They named the rosé wine after him. It's called Lady A. It's incredibly strange that one of Epstein's closest confidants, Ron Burkle, does not get a mention ever. These are strange circles, Dan. I always say, why go to somewhere like Soho House if, or any private members club? Like, normal people don't do that. We go to the pub. Why go somewhere where you're not allowed cameras and everything? I'm predicting it's not going to be a great year for Meghan.
And what's really interesting is if you actually go to People magazine, which now operates as a propagandist for Meghan Markle, but they didn't, Lauren, back in 2021 because they also followed up the Daily Beast story at the time. Meghan Markle could be called to testify in Prince Andrew case. This is still online now, probably won't be once I've pointed it out. But look, here's what David Boyes said, quoted in People magazine. One, she is in the US, so we have jurisdiction over her. 2, she is somebody who obviously, at least for a period of time, was a close associate of Prince Andrew and hence is in a position to perhaps have seen what he did, and perhaps if not to have seen what he did, to have heard people talk about it. Because of her past association with him, she may very well have some important knowledge and will certainly have some knowledge. 3, She is somebody who we can count on to tell the truth. She checks all three boxes. Well, I would argue he's wrong on that last count. Actually, if there's one person, David Boyce, who you can't rely to tell the truth, it's Meghan Markle.
But I don't think that statement was ever... that has so... you can read so much between the lines in that statement. You know, lawyers don't often release statements that are purposefully vague. He's really covered himself in the wording in that statement. To me, that clearly reads, we have your card marked. That is how it reads to me. And you know, the public, quite rightly, have a lot of unanswered questions for Meghan Markle. We want to know why she is allowed to cause the damage I believe she has gone out of her way to try and do to the royal family. She behaves in an incredibly entitled way, and things don't match up. You know, there are some incredible researchers out, and the public also have done so much investigative looking into Meghan Markle. Things don't add up, Dan. And often when the mainstream media omit details, there is a game that is being played, and that doesn't work anymore. No, thank you. We'll get to the bottom of it.
And then Meghan is doing her best to make this Hollywood comeback. So, I mean, she will be absolutely terrified about the idea that this House Inhabit investigation is finally going to drop. I mean, I'd love to see how Sunshine Sachs, who is the PR company famous for dirty tricks, back on board after she sacked Meredith Maines. I'm going to love to see how they try and deal with Jessica Reed-Krause and House Inhabit. But what's clear is that Meghan believes her best approach is to just keep on accepting any invite, even if she's not really invited to an event. And we saw that on Saturday night with this really weird interaction with Emma Grede on the red carpet for the 15% organization. Now, you could argue that she was here, Lauren, because it was celebrating Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mother. And what's so interesting, and I think this does say a lot about where Meghan's celebrity status now is, she's friends with the moms rather than the stars themselves. So she's friends with Kris Jenner, she's friends with Tina Knowles, she's not friends with Beyonce anymore, she's not friends with Kim Kardashian. But look at what happened here. She can't even keep it together in front of the paparazzi. Look, she actually pushes the assistant to get out of her shot. But did you think this worked, Lauren, from a PR perspective? Is this what Meghan wants the world to see of her?
I mean, I personally think this whole 15% pledge is an absolute nothing burger. I don't see her pledging 15% of shelf space to Black business owners. I don't see her giving, you know, her profits. Not that there probably are any. I mean, jam's not really worked, has it? But I don't see her doing any of this. And this is why I absolutely despise philanthropy when it's used like this, because this really is a networking event for all the elites, isn't it? For all the people that have got too much money, they've turned up, they all want to enhance their own brands. That's why they're there. I am sick of seeing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry turn up to anything that they feel will propel them forwards. You know, remember what your mother did, Prince Harry. She was doing the charity work that was not cool, the charity work that people shied away from. She was shaking hands with, you know, victims who had AIDS and were dying from AIDS when people were scared to touch these people. You know, Diana was shaking their hands without gloves. It was monumental. And all we see is Harry and Meghan just turn up. And evidently it just looks like they just want to be famous and line their pockets. We saw Meghan at the Baby to Baby gala. We've seen her at Kris Jenner's event. This is grifty, it's disingenuous, and I absolutely despise celebrities using charity or philanthropy or social enterprise in this way, because actually the real celebrities that care, You never know when they're popping to a hospital. You never know when they're donating some of their money, because they actually are doing it because they want to do the right thing, not because they've put on a black satin shawl that is absolutely gross and they just want to pose for a few pictures. I mean, Dan, honestly, most of the time when I had celebrities do events like this, they didn't even bloody stay for the event. They'd had their picture and they'd go. Or, you see them at these like charity events for kids and they're just sat there almost with a tear stick. And then they don't care. These people don't care.
They don't. They're told they have to go and this will be good for you. And so they show up. But what I thought was interesting, and this relates to your previous point, Lauren, Meghan's mole posted, I guess Meghan Markle isn't playing up being black while attending the 15% gala, which was honouring Tina Knowles this year for her leadership in uplifting black-owned businesses. Let me remind everyone, Archewell was made up of only white employees. And I thought that was a very good point, Lauren. I mean, I hate identity politics altogether, but if you're going to go there, Meghan has done nothing in her own businesses.
Yeah, I mean, this is the hypocritical point of it. She's there to, see what she can get out of Emma, in my opinion. That's what she's looking to do. She's attached herself to Emma like a Siamese twin. Emma's probably just like, oh God, Meghan's here again. Meghan's just desperate to get to Kris Jenner. But sorry, Meg, you absolutely burnt that bridge. The Kardashians don't give second chances. But, you look at Emma's track record. Is she a great PR networker? Absolutely. But this is also the woman that's a business partner with Chrissy Teigen, the bully, the horrible, horrible woman that has just been so repulsive to people online. So, you are the company you keep, and doesn't look great.
Lauren, I want to ask you about this new reporting out of Tom Sykes and the Royalist Substack about the princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. Beatrice so stressed she can't eat. Eugenie fearing she'll have to cut contact with her parents forever. And again, there's a real divided opinion about whether we should feel sorry for the York girls or not. But here's the reporting. Prince Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, are struggling to cope with the fallout from the total collapse of their parents' lives, friends have told The Royalist. A friend of Beatrice, who lives in a trendy Cotswold village not far from the rural outpost of UK members club Soho House, said she is struggling as the stress of her family's unravelling takes its toll. She can't eat, she can't sleep, she is so stressed out, the friend said. The friend said that Beatrice has cut off contact with all but a few close friends and only leaves the house if she has to. Her husband, Eduardo Mapale Mozzi, who has established a successful design consultancy, Banda, is doing his best to support her, the source said, but he has to keep going. He recently travelled to the art and design fairs in Palm Beach. Meanwhile, a friend of Eugenie, the younger of the two women who lives in Portugal with her husband Jack Brooksbank, told me that she fears she will have to completely cut ties with her father in order to preserve her status in the philanthropic world as the patron of an anti-slavery charity she founded years ago. She was humiliated when the recent batch of Epstein files showed her mother emailing Epstein to say that she was on a shagging weekend with her boyfriend. You'll remember that. The friend said, it's the understatement of the year to say it's a very difficult situation. Of course they feel let down by the new revelations. Eugenie's work with the anti-slavery collective is super important to her and she feels that she is going to have to make a choice. Some say that choice has already been made. So, Lauren, do you feel sorry for Eugenie and Beatrice and all of this?
No, not at all. Not at all. A friend asked me recently, she said, they've been failed by their parents too. And I said, well, I'm just not there yet. I feel they are also a product of their environment. They have been raised by grifters and we have seen the track record of their grifty behavior. This whole piece, does it once say they're mortified, they're sickened by, the evidence that's come out and how, have they been lied to? We don't know. We don't know how much they were privy to. But it's all about saving face. And this is utter bullshit. I am so sick of seeing celebrities just care about how they line their pockets, how they preserve their reputation. Do the right thing. What's the right thing for them? Well, we don't know because we actually don't know if they are women of substance or not. They keep being positioned as children to us. I mean, for goodness sake, they're married women and they're mothers. They are not children. They are grown adults that can make informed decisions. And nowhere within that piece does the source say anything about empathy, compassion, the horrors of what they are seeing come out in the files. What's it about? It's about saving their philanthropic endeavor. And I'm allergic to the word philanthropy. Anytime I see it, Dan, then there comes no good from people that use philanthropy to propel themselves forwards. You've just got to rule anyone out, to be honest, in my opinion. If you're on the fence about who someone is, just look, do they use the word philanthropy? Yes. Goodbye.
Now, maybe Eugenie isn't too upset anyway, because Tom Sykes has now had another revelation in the past few hours that she's actually staged her comeback in Qatar. And he said, I'm not sure the Middle East would be the ideal place for any children of Prince Andrew to emerge back in the spotlight, but old habits die hard, I guess. I heard rumours that Princess Eugenie had been spotted in Qatar last week at that country's edition of the Art Basel art show in her capacity as a director for Trendy Gallery, Herza and Worth. Now the first pictures of the beleaguered royal at the event have emerged on social media. The 35-year-old was photographed in front of a piece of contemporary art in Doha with her friend, the Australian model Caroline Dorr, who just posted an image on Instagram. The fair ended a few days ago, suggesting the image was deliberately uploaded after the fact. And here is that picture. Reunion, it's been too long. I mean, look, she is having to work. I mean, I don't think we can necessarily criticize her working, can we? Although the optics are not good.
Well, look, they love themselves some Middle Eastern money, don't they? We've all seen exactly what's gone on, and it's just, you just think you're not driven to do the right thing at all. But actually, again, we need to zoom out and look at the wider picture. The wider picture is half in, half out, doesn't work. And let's look at how are the royal family using and potentially manipulating their role of soft power. Because, on one hand, we've got Prince William being sent by the government to meet the Saudis and the royal family over there. And then we've got, and he didn't look very happy to be there, actually. I really don't think he wanted to go at this time. But then we've got Beatrice or Eugenie going over to Qatar. I mean, we could also explore the wider issue that I think is Qatar's involvement with the royal family. There are big questions that need to be asked in 2026 about how soft power is being used. And I'm sorry to say, with Beatrice and Eugenie, I'm sure you know that they are smart and intelligent women, but they have not got to where they've got to in their careers because of their talents. And that might sound very harsh, but it's also very true. They wine and dine on their titles. They host little tea parties in the Middle East using the word princess. Now they might say, but it's my name. Well, we've seen the problem, haven't we, with Prince Harry? So I think Prince William, at the right time, he needs to do some serious gutting in the House of Windsor, because grey areas do not work for us, the public. And again, it's very hard for us to decipher when is it a personal engagement, when is it a work engagement. And they just, like their parents, they love themselves some money, don't they?
For viewers who may not be familiar, House Inhabit is an independent media platform created by Jessica Reed Krause. She first gained attention through lifestyle and parenting content, but in recent years she has become increasingly focused on investigative reporting, politics, celebrity culture, and high-profile legal controversies. Supporters argue that she conducts long-form investigations and relies heavily on source documentation. Critics argue that some of her reporting has generated significant controversy. Regardless of where you stand, her investigations tend to attract a great deal of attention. The central claim is that this investigation has been in development since 2018. According to the social media posts being discussed, files, testimony, archived material, and source information have allegedly been gathered over many years. If that timeline is accurate, It would suggest that this is not a sudden news story but a project that has been developing for a considerable period of time. The significance of that claim is not that it proves the allegations. The significance is that it suggests the investigation is being presented as the result of long-term research rather than a reaction to a recent headline. What makes this story important is not simply the allegations. It is the fact that it reflects growing public interest in independent investigations outside traditional media institutions. Many people increasingly rely on Substack writers, independent journalists, and online investigators for information. That creates both opportunities and risks. Independent investigations can uncover important stories. They can also amplify claims that require careful scrutiny. The challenge is separating evidence from speculation. At this point, the House Inhabit investigation remains anticipated rather than published. There are reported claims. There are teasers. There are suggestions about what may be included. But the evidence has not yet been publicly presented in full. The responsible approach is to examine the material carefully once it is released and evaluate the claims on their merits. Because ultimately, the question is not whether a story is dramatic. The question is whether it is supported by credible evidence. If you found this breakdown useful, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think independent investigations are filling gaps left by mainstream media, or do you think extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence before they should be taken seriously? I'll see you in the next video.